Today on American Outlaw, you're zeroing your rifle wrong. Maybe. Today we're going to be going over 4 main zeros and why you may have chosen incorrectly for your application. Test bed rifle for this. The rifle doesn't matter, the barrel length doesn't matter. I just chose this rifle for this application because it was ready. But let's go over it. This is a Cobalt Kinetics 16-inch barrel, 1-in-7 twist. The custom part of this is it is a Noveske barrel. Everything else is Cobalt. Full disclosure, Cobalt sent me the rifle, Noveske sent me the barrel. This is a CGS suppressor, the SCI 6. I find it to be a really quiet suppressor, and I don't like to wear earmuffs. I have the Liberty's Defense suppressor cover on there, Surefire Scout Light, Schmidt & Bender 3-20, ultra short. Let's start off right now with the 100-yard zero, which seems to be a very popular zero. Now, what I want to talk about to set some parameters for the video, we are going to aim at the exact same place in every zero all the way out to 300 meters. And what I want to do is show you where on the target, or if it hits the target that it hits, so that you understand where you might want to have your rifle zeroed for your application. Now guys, I know a lot of you probably have a 100-yard zero on your gun. The truth is though, a lot of people that I've talked to, and I've spoke to many different units, many different people that do this for a living, and I think you'll be surprised that the vast majority of them don't use a 100-yard zero. So, what is your zero? Let me know in the comments below, but for now, let's explore them. All right, guys, the ammo that I'm going to use today is Black Hills factory brand new 5.56 77 grain OTM. Why did I choose this ammo? Whenever you're doing range ammo and you're practicing on the range, that's great. You can use the 55 grain, 62 grain, whatever you want to use. But I'm looking at this is actual self-defense, whatever you're going to use it for, hunting, however you want to use it for. This is the ammo that I would choose. This is the ammo I think a lot of people are going to choose. Maybe not most people, a lot of people choose. This is what the military is using. And so I chose this because I want to be as precise as I can be for your actual fighting zero. All right, guys. So we are at 300 yards. I'd like you to be able to see how far 300 yards is away. It's actually really far. With my naked eye, I can barely see the target. Now the target's brown and everything around it's brown. I can barely see the target, but I'm zeroed at 100. I'm gonna hold it the exact same spot. I'm gonna fire 1 round. We're gonna have our spotter make sure we hit it, and we're gonna see what it looks like. All right, fired the 1 round. What I wanna say to you guys is, even if you're using a red dot, an Aimpoint T2 with a magnifier at 300, or an EOTech with a magnifier at 300, you're gonna get the same results. I chose to use an optic, a 20 power optic, to try to hold it as absolutely perfect as I could to get the best test results for you. So whether you use an optic, a low power variable optic, or a red dot, I think you're fine. All right, dudes, here we are at 200. And the wind is blowing really bad right now, but a little pro tip, if the wind is blowing as hard as it is, which is probably blowing about 18 to 20 miles an hour right now, the pro tip to this is shoot directly in the wind or with it directly at your back. And right now it's almost exactly at our back, so we're not really having to hold wind. Impact?
Impact.
That was 200. Let's go to 100. Okay guys, so this is a 100-yard zero. This is 100 yards. This is point of aim, point of impact. What that means is, point of aim, point of impact is, I zeroed it at 100. Doesn't matter where, 25, 50, 36, 200. Some people do 200. That is where my zero is, and wherever I aim is where I'm gonna hit. So this is 100. We're doing it just so it's on paper so you can see all the different ones, but zeroed at 100, point of aim, point of impact. I pulled that one just a little bit, but it's just a little low, but it's 100. It's 50. Jump in, we'll go to 25. Look, At 25, you should really be able to just hand hold this, but I'm just trying to get you the best group I can get you. Now you guys are gonna ask me, so that's great that you did, you know, all the way to 25, but let's talk now holdover. So right now I'm at 15 yards. That's 15. At 15, just standing here, this is a heavy gun, I'm moving all over. 100 yards, 0 at 7 yards, CQB distance. One thing that's really difficult, turn the power down right here. One thing that's difficult is, it's not that bad. Okay, here we go, ready? All right guys, in the 100 yard 0, we started at 300 and literally couldn't even hit the body. I had to go test on the berm where we were hitting, so I had to aim at the head. I was braced pretty well, and so the wind played 8 inches of difference in there. And you know, we talked about that wind tip, so it's still not very much wind because it's basically blowing at our back. If it was in this 20-mile-an-hour wind and we were shooting like 90 degrees, it'd blow it completely off target. So especially with the 5.56, focus on your wind. So we had to aim at the head, and we shot, I don't know, 18 inches low. So aiming here, we were shooting down here and couldn't even see the impacts. Coming up to 200, we're still aiming here. 200 worked. It was a very good shot, very little windage. The 100, I dropped it just a little bit, but it is point of aim, point of impact at 100. 50 yards is almost identical. Then when I moved up, 25 yards dropped just a little bit, 15 yards dropped a little more, and 5 yards or 7 yards dropped the most, which is your holdover, which would be just like any other red dot that you would, you know, basically put it on top of their head to get an A-box hit. So 100 yard works very well to me. Is if you see a target of opportunity and you're out to 200, you're pretty good. But to 300, I'm gonna say you're gonna be hitting them in the knees if you're hitting them at all. Now let's try 50. All right, here we go. Guys, we've got the 50 yard 0 now, and same thing. I'm holding exactly in the center of the target on the black dot, and I'm not gonna change where it is. This is 300 yards. 300 yards is a long ways. It's windy, but it's a pretty day. All right, sweet, we're moving up. All right, this is 200. 200 yards with the open eyes. I don't have perfect eyes, but I could see somebody there, but if they're moving, they'd be hard to hit. All right, let's move to a hundo. Guys, you gotta make sure you set your parallax. You don't have to set your parallax on a red dot, but you dang sure gotta do it on your scope. So you guys should have already remembered what point of aim, point of impact is. That's where we are now. I pulled that high right. All right, 25. I'm gonna tell you guys, the wind is blowing me around like crazy. All right, this is 25. What I've done for 25 is I've turned it all the way down to 3 power, and I'm just freehanding it. It's 25. I mean, I'm sorry, that's 15. Sorry, that last one was 15. This one now is 7, which is CQB distances, right? Walk into a room, there's the dude. Should be normal holdover. All right, that's 7. I called this shot right here as high right. I was aiming in the center. I called it high right, but for the purpose of this test, it's perfectly zeroed. So that's our point of aim, point of impact. We drove out to 300. I'm still holding here, and I hit 300. You can notice a little bit of windage. The wind is kind of playing, you know, with us, but then come up to 200 and I hit here, and I'm still holding here. Then 100 and I'm a little high. Then, of course, we went to 50, and then we came 25 and 15, which was almost identical, and then 7, which is the holdover inside of the scope. This, when you're inside of 25, your holdover inside your scope is going to change. You cannot look at mine and say, this is my holdover, because you might be using a Unity riser, which is really popular. I love them, but their holdover is going to be higher or lower based on your scope rings. So one thing about the 50 is just know from if you're aiming at the center of their chest at 50, you're going to hit them in the belt buckle. You know, there is a rule: when all else fails, aim at the belt buckle. But you're going to hit them in the belt buckle all the way to 300. The idea of 50 is really, it's almost perfect inside of 200. But I did want you to see this. If you look on anything, you're like Reddit or what, I don't even know what forums you guys use. Everybody will say 50 and 200 is exactly the same. It's not. It's really close, but it's not exactly the same. You might think it's the same because of your ammo or your choice of a red dot. Maybe your red dot's too big. That's why it's really important that if you get the opportunity, actually go test it. One of the main takeaways between the 100-yard zero and the 50-yard zero, if you remember, I'm able to hold from 50 and everything we're gonna do all the way out to 300, same point of aim, and I'm gonna hit you all the way to 300. With the 100-yard zero, the one that's really popular, I had to aim at the head to hit them roughly in the same place. So with the 100, completely take a just same point of aim, point of impact out of the equation, because you're not gonna hit them past 200. Again, it's up to you which one you wanna use. You just need to be really informed. But let's see now what the 36 does. All right, guys, this is 36-yard zero. I think if you look up where to zero your gun, there's 1,000 videos on this one. But let's see what we can do here. Make sure I'm on 20 power. Make sure your parallax is set, it's critical. Man, I'm moving all over the place. The wind is blowing, guys, it's blowing. All right, here's the actual zero, 36 yards, point of aim, point of impact. Pause the video right now. Listen, I want you to go on there and tell me what point of aim, point of impact is in the comments. All right, dudes, this is 25 yards. It's 15, 7. All right, guys, here's the 36-yard zero. 36-yard zero is just underneath the 50-yard. Then if we start at the 25, it's just low. Then we bring it to 50, it's just barely high. 100 is quite a bit high, maybe 3 inches, 2.5 inches, 3 inches high. 200 is just a little lower than 100. This is windage when we were way out there. It's one of the really cool things that I like about being in West Texas is you have the opportunity to stretch stuff out instead of just go off what the internet says. And then, of course, we've got our holdovers here. Now look, this 7, I've got a heavy Inconel suppressor on a heavy gun with a heavy scope, and I'm freehanding it in 20-mile-an-hour wind. The 7 and the 15 is gonna be really close, maybe just a little bit higher, but I know I broke the shot up here and I know I broke this shot down here. But rather than just have a bunch of bullets in here, I thought it'd be easier. And then of course the money shot is 300. Guys, I was aiming here and I hit right here for the 300. So the 36 yard to 300 keeps everything just almost, for sure in the torso, almost in the A zone.
Yeah, I just can't believe you got 1, 2, 3 all in the little box, and then everything else was like, that's such crazy dispersion. Anyway, that's my input.
Yeah, it's not bad at all. It's pretty nice. Super windy right now. I think it said gusts of 29 today. It's probably blowing 20-ish. But this is 25 yards zero at 300 yards here. I can't believe I hit that at 300. That was not what I was expecting to happen. I thought we missed it. All right, guys, here's the 25-yard zero. You see a lot of 25-yard zeros in professional end users. Where it kind of gets wonky is it does really good at 25. You know, starting at 7, you got your normal holdovers. 15, you got a little bit of a holdover. 25, I'm on. I was just a little high right there, but I'm on. The buggy's shaking like crazy. 50, I'm still good. It works really well right here. It gets wonky at 100. Like, that's wonky. Especially if you're aiming up in his neck area, chances are it's gonna go over. 200, pretty good. 300 is the best so far at 300. But 25 is really not a bad zero. Now, let's go talk about all of them together. So now we have went out and demonstrated all of the different zeros. So let's look at them together and then talk about who may use them, okay? So starting off with the 100-yard zero. You saw it out on target, but when we were at the 300 yards, I had to aim at the head, and it's a total of a 17-inch dispersion, which means I was hitting just off the target here at 300 yards, which if it was a person, you're still probably gonna hit them in the pelvis. So there are a couple of reasons that people use the 100. Guys, what I did was I just called every group of mine that are current active duty that are using these zeros to try to find out what they're using and why they're using them. So the explanation I got on the 100 is if you're using it with a red dot, is if the EOTech reticle or the new SIGs, pretty much all of them I think now are coming out with that 65 MOA. If it is shoulder to shoulder, he's inside of 150 yards, just shoot him. Anything else they're holding on top of their head. Is if they're like, hey, they just feel further, they're holding on top of their head. But this is, I mean, it's still gonna hit you to 300, just hit you low, unless you hold on top of their head, which makes sense, and then it's gonna hit them inside the chest. If the dot, let's say the dot fits right here and the circle fits right here, you know they're beyond the 150. So if you're not a shooter who shoots every day, that's a difficult thing to remember. You gotta remember the guys who choose this zero, they shoot every single day for a living. Now, another great reason for a 100 yard is if it is your designated marksman rifle. Like I'm designated marksman and I'm gonna dial for, 152, 253, 350. That falls in really well with that reticle. So I think a lot of guys that are specifically snipers, designated marksmen, 100 yard is what they choose on their optic. All right, the 50-yard zero. The 50-yard zero is really, really popular. Especially on the Navy side at that highest level. Those guys are mostly running the 50-yard zero on all of their guns, and the reason why is it gave us a 15-inch total dispersion. Now, you can see that the 300-yard shot still hit him in the low belly, where on the 100-yard zero, it would have hit him in the low pelvis or maybe in the legs. But it is a total of a 15-inch dispersion. It works really well. I like the 50-yard zero a lot for red dots, especially inside of urban areas, inside of your neighborhood. Let's just say you're having to defend somebody, or you're defending your neighbor, or there's a situation with your neighbor. They're about 50 yards away from you, from your garage to their garage, which makes it to where it's really easy to make sure you have a precise shot on somebody. So if you're a police officer, if you're, ST6, this is a really good zero for them. And, you're not wrong with this zero. I think it works really well in America. All right, the next one is the ever famous 36-yard zero. So if you guys know that there's a lot of stuff on zeros on the internet, this is what the 36-yard did. I don't know if I already mentioned it, but let me mention again. This was with 77 grain Sierra Match Kings, Black Hills ammo. And that to me is duty ammo, not 55 grain. You need to do this if you're choosing a different ammo. But it's a total of a 10-inch dispersion at all the way out to 300 yards. This is literally my favorite zero because it is, hey, something has happened, my adrenaline is up, there's a problem, I just need to put it on him, basically as far as I can see him to shoot him. 36 is, man, it's just money. And it just works really well holding them all inside of here when you're really close, all the way to 50. 25, 36, 50 is all in the dot. 7 and 15, of course, you're working your holdover. 100, you're still hitting him high chest. 200's almost equal to 100. Guys, 36 is just, it's just beautiful. It's beautiful. Is it the right answer for you? I don't know. And a last popular zero that we did is 25 yards. Who uses the 25-yard zero? Got a lot of Marines, a lot of MARSOC Marines, Recon Marines, a lot of Navy SEALs, because when they're standing on the back of the ship, they can get 25 yards. A lot of guys that are doing strictly CQB, 25 yards is really great. The Army with their ACOGs, zero at 25 yards and then use their holdovers. So 25 yards, the wonky thing with 25 yards is it goes really high at 100 and 200. You're hitting them way high in the chest. It's not what you would expect. Then 300, it's almost on line with the zero. It has a 8-inch total dispersion. That's actually pretty good. The holdovers are about the same as the 36 and the 50. That 25-yard zero is really not a bad zero. I've read a lot of comments that you guys have posted on some of the other zeroing videos, and people are like, hey, I can only get 25 yards. Then 25 yards is gonna work for you. You know, make sure you check it out, but to 300, you're gonna basically be point of aim, point of impact. So don't think just because maybe you have an indoor range that 25 is not gonna work for you. It's gonna work great. But no matter what, you always have to test what your barrels have a life of their own. You always have to test what your barrel's gonna do with your ammo and make sure that it's gonna work for you so you understand what your holdovers are. Somebody's gonna ask in the comments, red dot versus LPVO, should I have a different zero? Here's my personal answer. This is just my opinion. My opinion is you should zero them both at whatever it was you were gonna use. So I like 36. 36 just kind of keeps them all in that 10 inches. So I like 36. I use my LPVO at 36 and my red dot at 36 because the one thing you have to remember about an LPVO, it doesn't help you shoot better, it helps you see better. And so when my adrenaline's going and I've just been woke up in the middle of the night, or maybe I'm riding down the road and I see a police officer in trouble, or maybe SHTF, however you see it, I want to pull my gun out and I'm just going to put my crosshairs on him because I'm not going to remember my holdover. I promise you're not going to remember your holdovers when it comes to real life. I just want to put it on him and let it go. The only difference at the 100 for me would be my actual optic on a designated marksman rifle. So my Schmidt & Bender 3-20, that is a designated sniper rifle. Then that for me is sniper territory. I'm not trying to do it quick. So those are the two zeros that I personally choose. None of those are wrong, and that's what I wanted you to see in this video. None of them are wrong. You should just make sure you pick one that works for you. It may be because of your local range. It may be because of you're in the West and you might shoot further. Pick one that works for you and then make all of your rifles the same so that when you pick up a rifle, you know exactly what it is. All right, guys, with that, pick whichever zero works for you. There's not a wrong answer. Let me know in the comments what zero you favored the most, and we'll see you soon.